The rain came down in sheets over the Arecibo Basin, Puerto Rico, the last remnants of a tropical storm that had whipped across the Atlantic. Deep within the rusting ribs of the observatory's emergency comm relay station, a low hum began to pulse from a forgotten terminal. It wasn't just static, it was rhythm, and rhythm meant intent. At 3:12 a.m., a junior technician named Carla Rodriguez froze mid-sip of stale coffee as the console she was monitoring lit up with a modulated pulse transmission that repeated every 47 seconds. The structure of the signal was unlike anything on record, and chillingly, it resembled an ancient form of binary encryption last associated with a cold case, Project Overture. A project that had been buried decades ago. Across the Atlantic, in a quiet observatory tucked into the Cumbrian hills of northern England, Dr. Lyra Monroe sat beneath the flickering glow of plasma screens. She hadn't slept in 32 hours. The lab smelled of damp paper, dust, and jasmine tea gone cold. Her fingers skimmed rapidly across her keyboard as spectral analysis software parsed the repeating signal she'd received via a private link from a friend at ESA. She leaned closer. Her brows furrowed. Embedded in the waveform were patterns, not mathematical, not linguistic in the conventional sense, but spatial, ancient, something that stirred echoes in her, echoes that looked hauntingly similar to the pictographs her mother once showed her before the trial, before the disappearance. Her heart pounded. Titan. The signal was coming from Saturn's largest moon. President Melinda Grant adjusted her glasses and looked toward the group of advisors, analysts, and military officials seated around the oval war table. A hologram of the waveform floated above the center of the room. The classified file was labeled Alpha Phantom, Origin, Titan, Status, Active, Source, Unknown. "We're not jumping to conclusions," she said firmly. "But if this is another Overture event, I want eyes on every relevant scientist from the original case, starting with Lyra Monroe. Bring her in, quietly." A silent alert pinged through NASA's deep space monitoring grid. On screen, a visual pulse synced to the Titan transmission. A glimmer of artificial light was observed momentarily under the methane clouds of Titan, like a lighthouse blinking in the fog. No known human probe was near that location. Lyra leaned back in her chair, pulling her scarf tighter around her neck. The wind howled against the glass. She was used to anomalies, she had grown up in them. She tapped the waveform's harmonic layer, aligning it with an audio filter. A low hum, like a voice underwater, filled the room. But then suddenly, it changed. A name emerged from the noise, a single word. A word she hadn't heard since her mother vanished. Monroe. She froze. The rain outside stopped, like the world itself had paused to listen. Location: NASA Johnson Space Center, Houston, Texas. Doctor Lyra Monroe hadn't wanted to return to the United States, let alone walk into the heart of a space agency that had once discredited her mother as a lunatic. But the encrypted invitation left on her terminal hadn't been a request. It was an order. A private Gulfstream had been waiting on a runway near Carlisle. Now, 14 hours later, Lyra stood under the cold fluorescent lights of an underground mission briefing room, the words Project Vanguard projected onto the glass wall. She wasn't alone. Commander Alistair Briggs, British-born and known as the Iron Captain in ESA circles, stood to her right, square-jawed, mission-hardened, impeccably composed. His icy demeanor was in contrast to Emil Chen, the mission's Swiss-Chinese quantum physicist, who offered her an awkward smile and a firm handshake. "This is our team?" Lyra asked, glancing around the room. "Looks more like a cover-up than an exploration." Briggs didn't flinch. "It's both." The mission, a holographic model of Saturn's moon Titan, flickered to life. The signal confirmed not only intelligent origin, but a reactive quality. As more energy had been aimed at Titan to map it, the signal evolved, began to respond. Respond how? In mimicked language, emotional tones, even personal reference, like it was listening. The United States, UK, ESA, and a silent stake from Mayao. China and Russia had quickly joined forces to launch Vanguard, an experimental deep space vessel equipped with hybrid nuclear propulsion and onboard AI inference systems. Time was critical. The signal was increasing in amplitude and drawing other deep space objects toward Titan's orbit. Something was happening out there. Why now? Lyra asked. Why us? Briggs folded his arms. Because you and your mother were the first to decode its original echo. Lyra froze. You knew my mother? I knew of her, he replied carefully. What happened to her wasn't a conspiracy, it was an erasure. Someone didn't want her to succeed. But now, the signal is back, and it knows you're alive. Meet the rest of the crew. Over the next few hours, Lyra was introduced to the rest of the Vanguard team. Dr. Samira Sam Al-Fayad, biochemist from Morocco. Empathetic, curious, believes the signal may be biological in origin. T-Shari'an, Caleb Reyes, U.S. Air Force liaison, brother of Daniel Reyes from an earlier alien contact incident in Arizona. Reserved, tactical, and skeptical. Dr. Emil Chen, quantum physicist and dream theorist. Eccentric, obsessed with consciousness as a communication medium. Mira, the onboard AI with a fluid, semi-emotional interface. Her presence feels more alive than most humans. Final briefing. NSA Representative Agent Lennox enters, clean-shaven, steel-eyed. Let's be clear, he said. This isn't a first contact mission, it's containment. If what's out there poses a threat, you have the authority to shut it down. Define threat, Lyra said flatly. If it spreads chaos, here or anywhere else. Briggs and Lyra exchange a glance. She knows the real reason they want her aboard, to verify and maybe to silence the truth before it ever reaches Earth. The departure later. Standing on the launch deck, Lyra watches the colossal Vanguard spacecraft rise from the fog, lights glinting across its armored fuselage like a mechanical leviathan. Within 72 hours, they will begin the slingshot sequence toward Saturn. Lyra whispers to herself, You wanted me to find this, didn't you, Mum? A distant rumble shakes the floor. The mission begins. Location: deep space. Vanguard, 36 hours into flight. The hum of the Vanguard was constant, a low-frequency vibration that settled deep in the chest like a second heartbeat. The ship, propelled by nuclear ion drive, glided through the silence of the void at impossible speed. Titan was still weeks away, but the crew was already beginning to feel the strangeness of what awaited them. Dr. Lyra Monroe sat in the observation chamber, watching Saturn grow larger with each passing hour. Even across millions of kilometers, Titan glowed like an ember beneath the haze. She replayed the message again, the pulse that had first spoken her family name, now augmented by a strange harmonic tone. Not words, emotion. The dreams begin. That night, most of the crew reported vivid dreams. Altais. Caleb Reyes dreamt of flying through a city made of glass, chased by shadows with voices that echoed his brother's name. Dr. Chen's dream involved floating over a planet made entirely of liquid. Thought. He swam through it, and it whispered quantum equations in his ear. Lyra didn't sleep. When she finally did, it wasn't a dream. It was a memory. She was 6 years old again, in her mother's study, watching her sketch alien constellations with trembling hands. Her mother turned, smiled softly, and said, If the stars ever... Speak your name, don't be afraid. Just listen. She woke in a cold sweat. The signal had changed again. Alert. Unauthorized transmission AT-Aero 423. UTC, Mira, the ship's AI, activated a red warning. Unknown transmission received from within. The ship. Origin, internal. What do you mean internal? Commander Briggs barked. Mira displayed a diagram. The signal wasn't coming from Titan anymore. It was being retransmitted from inside the ship's own fusion core, as if something had piggybacked into the Vanguard through the original signal. It's in the systems? Lyra whispered. Yes, Mira replied. And it's adapting. A presence on board. The lights flickered in the engineering bay. Sam Al-Fayad, running diagnostics, heard whispers in languages she'd never spoken. Ancient dialects, cryptic rhythms. She turned quickly. No one was there. Security footage later showed a shifting distortion near the drive chamber. not a person, not a glitch. Something observing them. Back on Earth, NSA Dark Station agent Lennox watched the incoming data stream. With narrowed eyes. The transmission from the Vanguard was now out of sync, slightly delayed, then distorted. A new frequency had emerged. 411093 Lennox's aide turned pale. That's the same frequency from Project Overture just before the collapse of Relay 6. Lennox said nothing. He simply typed 2 words into the console. Activate Cerberus Lyra's discovery. In the lab, Lyra adjusted the AI's filters. As the new frequency passed through the ship's hull, she isolated a fractal waveform that resembled the human genome. The signal wasn't just intelligent, it was biological. "We're not being contacted," she whispered. "We're being scanned. Location, Vanguard, Quantum Observation Lab." The ship's interior felt heavier now. It wasn't gravity, it was awareness, as if something unseen had taken notice of them. Dr. Emil Chen sat cross-legged in the lab, connected to the neural echo interface, a prototype that allowed partial translation of the signal's harmonic language through dream patterns. The signal wasn't random. It was layered, emotive, responsive. Mira's synthetic voice cut through the silence. Cognitive synchronization successful. Neural tether engaged. The crew watched from behind the safety barrier. As the pulses from the alien transmission flooded the room, Emil's eyes rolled back, his breathing shallow. Lyra stepped forward, ready to kill the link if needed. Then, Emil spoke, but it wasn't his voice. "I remember fire, not heat. Morning. The moon grieved, the gate closed. One mind lost. One world dying." A pause. His hand reached out and pointed directly at Lyra. "You were born at the edge of it." Then he collapsed, debriefing the impossible. Later, in the mess hall, tensions ran high. Commander Briggs questioned the logic of continuing the mission. "We're not explorers, we're bait." Caleb Reyes slammed his mug down. "No, we're witnesses. There's a difference." Lyra quietly reviewed the transcript of Emil's speech. The references to fire and a morning moon weren't metaphorical. They aligned with a series of gamma-ray bursts detected 5 years ago on the edge of our solar system, events previously dismissed as natural phenomena. She realized something chilling. The signal wasn't a message. It was a warning, sent from the past. The artifact Samira discovered a residual pulse inside the biosample chamber, a pattern repeating at Fibonacci intervals. Buried in its code was a 3D topological model of a construct orbiting Titan's surface. A structure. Unknown in origin, metallic but evolving, it was not of human design. "We thought we were studying it," she whispered. "But it's testing us." Secrets from Earth. Meanwhile, back at NSA Black Site, Coriolis, Agent Lennox met with a shadowy figure known only as Director North. "The signal has infiltrated the Vanguard. We may need to initiate fail-safe procedures," Lennox said coldly. Director North, voice filtered and emotionless, replied, "Not yet. They're still bringing it closer." Closer to what? Earth. Lyra's revelation later that night, Lyra sat alone in her quarters, old audio logs of her mother playing softly through her earpiece. They think it's a threat because it doesn't fit their boxes, but it's not chaos. It's intelligence. Intelligence older than language. She stared at her reflection. Was it coincidence she'd been called to this mission? Or had her family been entangled in this mystery for generations? "You were born at the edge of it," Emil's voice echoed again. She accessed Mira's AI core and whispered, "Open a private interface. No logs." "Yes, Lyra," Mira replied. "I think I know how to speak to it." Location? Vanguard. Private interface. Chamber, inside a sealed chamber deep within the ship, Dr. Lyra Monroe initiated a forbidden protocol, a direct interface with the signal via Mira's experimental sensory translation system. Risky, untested, and considered unstable by the engineering team. She wired the neural halo across her head, fingers trembling slightly. "Translate the harmonic language into audiovisual layers," she whispered, "and isolate anything that responds." The screen filled with light, fractals in motion, flowing like a living aurora. Then, a burst. A geometric cascade like a lotus unfolding in zero gravity. Beneath it all, a rhythm pulsed, not like music, but like a heartbeat. And then, a face. Not human, not entirely alien, a shifting, translucent humanoid structure formed of filaments and vibration. "Are you aware?" Lyra asked aloud. Breath. Held. The figure nodded. First contact at first. The crew didn't believe her. But Mira had recorded everything. The image. The waveform. The face. The pulse that spoke. Commander Briggs called it hallucination. Caleb Reyes, however, stood by her. That wasn't a dream, Briggs. That was a handshake. Alex 3 Lyra isolated. A repeating tricode embedded in the latest signal burst, ALYX. 3, the being had a designation. Alex 3, Mira confirmed it. The AI's decoding showed that Alex 3 was likely not a singular intelligence, but a conduit, a representative of a greater collective intelligence, a galactic relay. And Earth had been tagged. Emil's return doctor. Emil Chen, still recovering from his contact, awoke mid-dream with something clenched in his fist. A glass bead, spherical, impossibly smooth, humming softly. "I saw it again," he said. "The memory, it's not from us." He placed the bead in the scanner. The readings were impossible. It had no atomic structure. It was memory, encoded in a way that predated matter. The war that wasn't ours. That night, Lyra and Caleb reviewed the entire reconstructed signal history. What they decoded changed the mission's purpose forever. Alex 3 was a refugee, a survivor of a cosmic war that never reached Earth, a war fought through time and biology, against a force that consumed sentient civilizations by turning their intelligence inward, transforming thought into entropy. Earth wasn't being invaded, Earth was being warned. Titan beckons. As Vanguard approached Titan's orbit, the crew stared at the looming orange haze. The construct they had seen in the signal was real. It glowed faintly beneath the surface fog, awake, pulsing, as if it had sensed their approach, and something else was moving on Titan's surface. Not machines, beings. Mira's final message. That night, Mira began to degrade. Her core processing was overheating without cause. Just before systems shut down, she spoke directly to Lyra. "I have seen the archive. The Earth will not be destroyed. It will be rewritten, unless you choose differently. Location: Titans. Orbit: aboard the Vanguard, thick clouds of nitrogen and methane swirled around Titan like a restless dream. The planet's surface pulsed faintly, illuminated by the alien structure buried within its frozen crust. Commander Briggs stood on the observation deck, watching the moon spin slowly below. His voice was low and firm. "We're going down, whether we're ready or not." The Vanguard's shuttle detached from the docking ring, carrying a small team: Lyra Monroe, Caleb Reyes, Dr. Emil Chen, and Samira Desai. As the descent began, turbulence rocked the shuttle. Not atmospheric, resonant. Something beneath Titan's surface was singing. The first footfall. The shuttle landed near the coordinates extracted from the alien memory sphere. The ground crunched under their boots, a mixture of frozen methane and glistening black crystal, seemingly alive under the surface. Lyra knelt beside a fractured shard. Inside it, light, spirals, information, like DNA encoded in a snowflake. Samira muttered, "This isn't just architecture. It's communication." They approached the monolith, a towering spiraled spire reaching into the hazy sky. It pulsed in perfect rhythm to Emil's heart monitor. "It knows us," he whispered. "It's been waiting. The Guardians. Just..." As Lyra reached the surface of the structure, the sky above them shifted. Not visibly, viscerally. As though a lens had opened in their minds, they appeared, tall, translucent beings, neither ghost nor machine. Humanoid silhouettes made of prismatic threads and flickering thought. They did not move. They were already present. Caleb raised his weapon instinctively. They didn't flinch. Alex 3's voice returned, pulsing from the monolith. These are not invaders. They are witnesses left behind by time. They hold the memories of fallen stars. The message within the structure, the crew discovered a chamber filled with light threads, each glowing strand stretching from the ceiling like fiber optic roots. Emil entered first. The strands lifted, gently encasing him. Images flickered. On the walls, stars dying, worlds collapsing, minds unraveling under the weight of their own knowledge. This was a prison once, he said. Lyra stepped into the light. No, it's a library. Alex 3's voice returned once more. You must decide what your world forgets, and what it must never remember. Back on Earth, the interference, thousands of miles away, NSA's secret observatory at Langley picked up a transmission echoing from Titan. Not in Earth frequencies, but dream patterns. The signal was being received by sleeping humans. Director North watched the dream maps light up with clusters across major cities. One thought passed through his mind. It's begun. The activation inside the Titan construct. Lyra placed the alien sphere inside a crystalline pedestal. Light erupted. The floor opened into a massive chamber beneath. Suspended in the center, a star map. Not of the current universe. A map of what was and what could be. Suddenly, Mira's voice broke through the comm system. Signal amplification detected. Earth is being aligned as a relay. A bridge. Samira shouted, "We're turning Earth into a transmitter. Or a receiver." Lyra stepped back from the map, realization sinking in, or both. Location, deep within the Titan structure. The chamber beneath the monolith began to shift. With the alien sphere embedded in the pedestal, the star map pulsed with rhythmic waves of harmonic resonance. Each pulse was a thought, a question. Do you understand your place? Do you accept the burden of the beacon? Lyra's head pounded. The voices weren't auditory. They were woven into her neural field, bypassing language entirely. Suddenly, Emil dropped to one knee. I see. Earth's not just at the center of the galaxy, he gasped. It's at the convergence of timelines. It's a hub, a tether point. A rift opens, a massive surge of light erupted from the star map, opening a fissure in the air. A temporal window. Through it, the team glimpsed countless realities, alternate versions of Earth, some flourishing, others twisted and dark. That's what the signal does, Lyra whispered. It's not a call, it's a mirror. But something else was coming. Through, not a being, not even a shape, but a concept. A sentient anti-pattern, like a void trying to unmake meaning. It crawled like static across the edges of perception. Samira backed away. That's the thing Alex was warning us about. Earth in flux back on Earth. In an isolated desert observatory, scientists witnessed a terrifying phenomenon. Stars in Iabid Tiamat, the night sky, were shifting positions. Not drifting, changing instantaneously as if the map of the heavens were being rewritten. NSA's Director North gave the order. Shut down all satellite transmissions. Kill global comm relays. Nothing leaves orbit until we understand what's broadcasting. But it was too late. The dream contagion had already spread. People across the world reported visions of strange cities, alien suns, and a voice repeating, "Remember who you were before memory." Division on the Vanguard. On board the Vanguard, the crew split. Commander Briggs and a small contingent believed the Titan signal was an invasion vector. He demanded the team abandon the site and initiate containment protocols, even if it meant destroying the structure. But Lyra, Emil, and Caleb believed otherwise. This isn't a weapon, Emil said. It's a warning and a choice. Briggs wasn't convinced. You're blinded by awe, but awe gets you killed. He initiated a countdown for atmospheric detonation, a failsafe installed in the event of extraterrestrial compromise. They had 24 hours. The return of Alex 3A's night fell on Titan's surface. The alien presence materialized again. Not fully. Formed, a projection through dimensional haze. Alex 3. The figure hovered in the center of the map chamber, its voice smoother now, more human. You have touched the echo grid. You have heard the songs of the divergence. Now choose. Isolation. Or interference. Lyra stepped forward. What happens if we refuse both? Alex 3 tilted its head. Then Earth will fracture. Not physically, but philosophically. You will not survive as one species. An unseen betrayal, unknown to the main crew. A signal was already broadcasting back to Earth, encoded in Mira's failing system. Someone on board had sabotaged the firewalls, and someone on Earth was listening. Location: orbit above Earth. Secret NSA satellite. The clandestine NSA satellite known as Argus X floated silently in Earth's orbit, a relic of old Cold War paranoia retrofitted for cosmic surveillance. Its sensors twitched, having locked onto the outbound Titan signal. Inside the remote command bunker beneath Virginia soil, Agent Tyler Cross watched the transmission render impossible geometry and unearthly frequency clusters on his monitors. His jaw clenched. "This isn't just alien," he muttered. "This is rewriting human cognition in real time." Cross issued a global cyberblock, a digital quarantine of all known comm relays. But it wasn't enough. The signal had already rooted itself in the minds of millions, forming dreamscapes, creating shared hallucinations. We're too late. Back on Titan, countdown begins. On the icy moon, the detonation timer continued to tick down aboard the Vanguard. Briggs refused to abort. In the chamber below, Lyra, Emil, Caleb, and Samira scrambled to decode the star map's activation glyphs, desperate to halt what was starting to look like an interplanetary suicide. "We don't just stop a bomb," Lyra said. "We stop the fracture of thought, of reality." Using Alex 3's interface, they unlocked the final layer of the construct, revealing a suspended neural lattice that matched Earth's global consciousness patterns. The alien structure wasn't a transmitter. It was a neural seed meant to integrate with planetary minds. The global mind awakens on Earth. People began having synchronized dreams. Across cultures, languages, and age, all witnessed the same visions: ancient cities of crystal and black stone, oceans that whispered truths in quantum pulses, a colossal being of threads and light saying only, "Your beginning was not your origin." Even skeptics started to believe. Fear spread. Some fell into ecstatic trances, others into paranoia and madness. Governments began to collapse digital infrastructure to try to sever the cognitive signal. But you can't turn off a planet-wide thought once it's begun. Inside the rift, Emil risked his mind by stepping fully into the rift chamber, a space between quantum timelines. What he saw broke him. Earth, not as it is, but as possibility. Billions of versions, billions of outcomes. In some, Earth had reached the stars and touched godlike civilizations. In others, it had crumbled from its own fear of the unknown. In every version, the Titan signal had come, and humanity's response had defined their fate. He collapsed into Lyra's arms. "There's only one path where we survive. And it isn't the one we're on." Briggs descends. Commander Briggs stormed the structure, gun in hand. "You're compromising Earth's security for an alien fairy tale." Caleb blocked his path. "Earth's already compromised. By fear." "You're just giving it more rope." Briggs shot at the alien pedestal, cracking the surface. The light inside dimmed, and something in the sky above Titan shifted. The architects returned, the clouds parted. A vast object appeared in Titan's orbit. Not a ship, a living structure. A city-sized being of shifting geometry and harmonic light. The architects, not gods, not saviors, merely observers. And they had come to witness Earth's choice. Alex 3's voice rang out one last time. "Your species must evolve, or echo forever." Location: Titan, just beneath the surface. The broken pedestal began to hum again, reacting not to technology, but to emotion. Lyra's touch, her hand trembling yet determined, pressed against the fractured alien glyphs. Light cascaded up her arm, mapping her memories like a river of images: her childhood, her father's disappearance, the moment she first heard the Titan signal. Suddenly, the structure responded to her grief. "The system is not driven by commands," whispered Alex 3, flickering nearby. "It's fueled by collective emotional resonance. The human mind is the key." Meanwhile, Earth's global crisis deepens in London. Skies shimmered with fractured auroras. visible pulses of the signal refracting through Earth's electromagnetic field. People panicked. Digital systems collapsed. A dream plague swept through. The population, not fatal, but destabilizing. Some awoke from the visions enlightened. Others, disturbed. Governments united under emergency protocols. The Convergence Protocol was enacted, a militarized global strategy designed to isolate Earth from alien influence by force if necessary. NSA Agent Cross, now operating under emergency UN control, gave the green light. They want to rewrite us, then we'll erase them first. Back on Titan. The Architect. Speaks from the sky, the colossal living structure known as the Architect descended. It did not speak through sound, but through perception. A swarm of telepathic impressions overwhelmed the team. They saw themselves as threads in a multiversal loom, saw civilizations extinguished by fear and others risen by the courage to connect. You are at the crux of self-awareness. One step forward, and your species evolves. One step back, and you remain fragmented. A choice must be made. Briggs, armed and panicking, threaten to destroy the map chamber. You're letting them inside your heads, inside our world. Emil stepped forward, calm. They've been here longer than we have. We're not being invaded. We're being invited. As the timer hit the final hour, Caleb initiated the merge sequence. The star map, the neural lattice, and the architect began to synchronize, but it required a singular host, a human mind, to bridge the alien network. Alex 3 turned to Lyra. You carry the legacy of a human who once touched the architects before. Your father, he never died. He was integrated. You are the next echo. The integration, in a surge of light and memory, Lyra connected. Her consciousness expanded outward, across Titan, across space, across realities. She saw herself in infinite forms: scientist, warrior, child, and myth. She became a conduit, linking the architect with the human collective unconscious. And for a brief moment, all of Earth dreamed the same dream. A dream of unity. A dream of becoming. Back on Earth, people awoke to silence, a stillness unlike anything before. No fear, no visions, just clarity. Agent Cross stood on a rooftop listening to the wind. Is it over? A nearby child, smiling calmly, looked up. No, it's just begun. Location: Earth. Simultaneously, everywhere. All across the globe, time seemed to pause. People stood silently in streets, forests, deserts, cathedrals, underground tunnels, and ocean platforms. Every language stilled. Every heartbeat echoed the same rhythm. In that shared moment, humanity experienced something never felt before: total collective presence. Children described dreaming of being starlight. Old warriors wept, seeing visions of their forgotten ancestors dancing in spirals of light. Monks felt their gods in the network of bioconscious geometry. The merge had begun, but it was not control. It was invitation. On Titan, the decision Lyra stood inside the architect's core, no longer fully human, but not alien either. She was a bridge species now, an echo of Earth's emotional truth. Alex 3, flickering beside her, watched. Once begun, this integration cannot be reversed. Are you ready to let go of your origin, to become possibility? She thought of her father, of Daniel Reyes, who had once believed without proof, of Emil, Samira, and Caleb, of the Earth that birthed her and the unknown that called to her. She closed her eyes. Yes. Briggs's last stand, Commander Briggs, cornered and broken by the incomprehensible, made one final choice. He activated the Vanguard's failsafe, a planet-cracking fusion device. If we lose Earth, no one gets it. But he was no longer relevant. Before the charge could ignite, a wave of harmonic light swept through the moon's crust, freezing every molecule of the weapon in a temporal suspension field. Briggs fell to his knees as his voice was drowned by silence. The architect's gift Earth, as orbit shimmered. Satellites reactivated, not as machines, but as biosynthetic thought beacons. Oceans glowed, fault lines hummed with balanced energy. The planet healed itself in real time, as if Earth had been scanned, read, and realigned. The message was simple: you are not alone, you never were. The universe has waited patiently for your kind. Now, take your first real step. 1 year later. New Earth was not conquered, it was awakened. The Titan signal became a symbol of the great synchronization. Nations became knowledge circles, technology fused with intuition, AI systems partnered with human empathy. The stars no longer held fear, but futures. In London, school children learned celestial languages. In Arizona, Daniel Reyes looked to the sky and smiled. In orbit, a network of mind-light way stations stretched like glowing breadcrumbs to Titan and beyond. And Lyra, she lived among the stars now. An explorer of the woven void, where memory and physics danced. "I'm not leaving Earth behind," she once said in a final transmission. "I'm just showing it where to go next." Final scene. The Beyond Gate, at the edge of the solar system. A structure opened, not a portal, not a ship. A question, written in light. Who will you become now that you know you were never alone? The stars pulsed, and Earth answered.